The ballroom fell silent. Ava Carter's small body hit the marble floor with a sound that made every champagne glass freeze midair. Her mother, the untouchable Evelyn Carter, CEO of Manhattan's most powerful real estate empire, dropped to her knees in a $5,000 gown and screamed for help that wouldn't come. The city's elite stood paralyzed, useless in their tuxedos and diamonds. Then the man she'd thrown into the rain 60 seconds earlier came crashing back through the doors. The homeless-looking stranger she'd judged. The nobody she'd dismissed, and he was the only one who knew how to save her dying daughter. This is a story about power, pride, and the stranger who changed everything. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The rain hit like punishment. November in New York City didn't mess around. It came cold, mean, and relentless. The kind of weather that made you question every decision that brought you outside. The streets around the Grand Lexington Hotel gleamed with wet black asphalt, reflecting the golden glow pouring from the hotel's towering entrance. Valets in burgundy uniforms hustled beneath oversized umbrellas, escorting guests from their town cars and Maybachs like fragile cargo too expensive to get wet. Inside, the Lexington's grand ballroom looked like money had gotten drunk and redecorated. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars hung from vaulted ceilings. Ice sculptures shaped like swans melted slowly beside champagne fountains. A string quartet played something elegant and forgettable in the corner, while waiters in white gloves circulated with trays of food nobody actually ate, just moved around their plates for appearance. This wasn't a party. It was a performance. The annual Winter Hope Charity Gala drew Manhattan's upper crust like moths to a very expensive flame. CEOs, hedge fund managers, real estate moguls, politicians who smiled too much. Everyone who mattered, or thought they did, packed into one glittering room to write tax-deductible checks and pretend they cared about poor people for exactly 4 hours. At the center of it all stood Evelyn Carter, 30 years old, 5'7" in heels that cost more than most people's rent, dark hair pulled back in a severe bun that said, "I don't have time for your bullshit." Her black evening gown was simple, elegant, and viciously expensive, the kind of dress that made other women hate her on sight. She wore minimal jewelry, didn't need it. Her presence was the accessory. Evelyn Carter didn't attend events. She commanded them. She stood near the center of the ballroom holding a glass of champagne she hadn't touched, nodding politely while some venture capitalist explained cryptocurrency like she hadn't already made $3 million shorting his favorite coin last quarter. Her expression remained perfectly neutral, pleasant enough to avoid rudeness, cold enough to prevent follow-up questions. People thought Evelyn was ice. They weren't entirely wrong. She'd built Meridian Development from the ground up in 6 brutal years, turning a failing commercial property firm into one of the fastest-growing real estate companies in the Northeast. 23 active projects, $400 million in revenue last year. Zero tolerance for weakness, excuses, or inefficiency. The business magazines called her a visionary. Her competitors called her a machine. Her 8-year-old daughter, Ava, just called her mom. Though lately, even that felt complicated. Evelyn glanced across the ballroom where Ava sat at a corner table with the daughter of a board member, both girls picking at desserts they weren't interested in. Ava wore a navy blue dress Evelyn had picked out, her light brown hair falling in careful curls that had taken the stylist 40 minutes. She looked beautiful, perfect, also miserable. Ava caught her mother's eye and offered a small, dutiful smile, the kind children learn when they know what's expected. Evelyn smiled back, brief, controlled, then returned her attention to the venture capitalist still talking. Somewhere between building an empire and raising a daughter alone, Evelyn had perfected the art of being in 2 places at once, while fully present in neither. She'd lost her husband, Marcus, 4 years ago. Heart attack, sudden, cruel. One day he was coaching Ava's soccer team, the next he was gone, leaving Evelyn with a 4-year-old daughter, a struggling company, and a choice: fall apart or become something harder than grief. She chose the latter. Some people thought that made her strong. Others thought it made her cold. Evelyn didn't particularly care either way. Caring required energy better spent elsewhere. "Ms. Carter?" A young assistant approached nervously, clutching a tablet like a shield. "Sorry to interrupt. Security flagged someone at the entrance. They're asking if you want them to handle it quietly or..." "What's the issue?" A man showed up with a child. Says he has an invitation, but he doesn't exactly. The assistant hesitated, choosing words carefully. He doesn't fit the profile. Evelyn's expression didn't change. Meaning? Meaning he looks homeless. Across the ballroom, laughter erupted from a group of hedge fund managers celebrating something that probably involved other people's money. Evelyn set down her untouched champagne. I'll handle it. She moved through the crowd with practiced efficiency, heels clicking against marble. People stepped aside automatically. When Evelyn Carter walked with purpose, you didn't get in the way. She reached the ballroom entrance just as security was having a quiet, tense conversation with a man holding a sleeping child. Evelyn stopped. The contrast was immediate. Brutal. The man was maybe 32, broad-shouldered, with the kind of build that came from actual physical labor, not boutique gym memberships. His jacket was old, fraying at the cuffs. His jeans were clean but worn pale at the knees, work boots that had seen better years. Dark hair wet from the rain. He held a little girl against his shoulder, maybe 6 years old, wrapped in a jacket too big for her small frame. She slept peacefully despite the tension radiating from every security guard in a 10-foot radius. The man's eyes met Evelyn's. They were tired, watchful, not aggressive, but absolutely unyielding. Ms. Carter. The head of security, a former cop named Morrison, stepped forward. This gentleman claims he received an invitation to tonight's event, but we can't verify. I have it right here. The man's voice was quiet, controlled. He shifted the sleeping girl carefully and reached into his jacket, pulling out a slightly crumpled envelope. Morrison took it, examined the contents, then looked at Evelyn with an expression that said technically legitimate, but come on. Evelyn didn't take the envelope. She looked at the man instead. Really looked. His clothes were wrong. His shoes were wrong. Everything about him screamed doesn't belong, and in Evelyn's world, appearance mattered. Perception mattered. Control mattered. And right now, this man was a problem. Sir. Her voice was polite, firm, final. I'm sure there's been some confusion, but this is a private event for foundation donors and partners. If you're seeking assistance, I'd recommend contacting our main office on Monday. I'm not seeking assistance. His tone didn't rise, but something sharpened in it. I was invited by Rebecca Linden from the Foundation's Medical Outreach Program. Morrison glanced at his tablet. Rebecca Linden is listed as a guest coordinator, but I don't look right. The man finished the sentence without bitterness, just fact. I get it. We'll leave. He adjusted his hold on the sleeping girl, preparing to turn. Wait. Evelyn raised one hand slightly. Not because she'd changed her mind, because she needed this handled correctly, quietly. What's your name? Noah Bennett. And you brought a child to a formal adult event because... Something flickered in Noah's expression. Not anger. Something colder. Because I'm a single father, Ms. Carter. I don't have childcare that works past 9 p.m., and the invitation said families were welcome. But, like I said, we're leaving. He turned toward the exit. The sleeping girl stirred, lifting her head slightly. Daddy? We're going home, Lil. It's okay. Evelyn watched them walk toward the door. The man's hand gentle on his daughter's back, whispering something that made the girl settle again. Morrison stood waiting for confirmation that the problem had been solved. It had. So why did Evelyn feel something uncomfortable twisting in her chest? Because you just threw a father and his sick kid into the rain based on his shoes? She pushed the thought away. This was her event, her reputation, her responsibility to maintain standards. Noah Bennett reached the exit. Then everything exploded. The scream came from the center of the ballroom. High, terrified, a woman's voice cutting through champagne conversation like a blade. Help! Someone help! Evelyn spun. Every head in the room turned toward the corner where the children's table sat, where Ava had been sitting, where Ava was now collapsed on the floor, convulsing. The world tilted. Evelyn's body moved before her mind processed the image. Running, stumbling, her heel catching on her gown. She dropped to her knees beside her daughter, champagne glass shattering somewhere behind her, the sound distant and irrelevant. Ava's small body jerked violently. Her eyes had rolled back. Foam appeared at the corner of her mouth. Her lips were turning blue. Ava! Evelyn grabbed her daughter's shoulders, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold on. "AVA, baby, look at me." Nothing. The ballroom erupted into chaos. People shouted. Someone yelled to call 911. Women screamed. Men pulled out phones and stood uselessly. The string quartet stopped mid-note. Morrison shoved through the crowd. "Everyone back! Give her space!" But nobody knew what to do with the space. Evelyn looked up desperately at the circle of frozen faces. "Help her! Somebody do something!" Silence. These were the most powerful people in New York, masters of the universe, titans of industry, and not one of them knew how to save a dying child. Ava's convulsions worsened. Her small body arched. The blue in her lips deepened. Evelyn heard herself making sounds, animal sounds, nothing human, her hands hovering uselessly over her daughter because she didn't know what to touch, what to do, how to stop this. She's dying. Right here. Right now. And I can't stop it. Then someone crashed through the crowd. Not carefully, not politely, like a truck. Hands grabbed Evelyn's shoulders and moved her aside. Not rough, but absolutely firm. "Ma'am, I need you to step back." Noah Bennett dropped to one knee beside Ava, his sleeping daughter suddenly gone. Handed off to someone, somewhere, it didn't matter. His focus was total. "How long has she been seizing?" His voice cut through the chaos like command. I don't... Evelyn couldn't form words. "How long?" 30 seconds, maybe 40. Noah's hands moved with frightening speed and absolute precision. He turned Ava onto her side, supporting her head, clearing her airway. His fingers found her pulse. "She's in SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, heart's beating too fast. Does she have a cardiac history?" Evelyn nodded, tears streaming. Diagnosed last year. She takes medication." "What medication?" I can't remember. Does anyone have ice?" Noah's voice boomed across the ballroom. "I need ice and cold water, now!" 3 waiters sprinted toward the bar. Noah's hands never stopped moving. He loosened Ava's dress collar, checked her breathing, maintained her position. His voice dropped, suddenly gentle. "Ava, sweetheart, can you hear me? My name's Noah. I'm going to help you, okay? I need you to try to stay calm." The girl's eyes fluttered, but didn't focus. A waiter appeared with a bucket of ice water. Noah grabbed a cloth napkin, soaked it, then pressed it firmly against Ava's face, over her eyes, her forehead. "What are you doing?" Evelyn lunged forward. Morrison caught her. "Let him work." "Vagal maneuver," Noah said without looking up. "Cold stimulation. It can reset her heart rhythm." He held the freezing cloth in place, counting under his breath. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Ava's convulsions began slowing. "Come on, sweetheart, come on." The blue started fading from her lips. That's it, Ava. You're doing great." Ava's eyes opened, focused. She gasped, a deep, terrible inhale, then started crying. Noah immediately turned her into recovery position, supporting her head. "It's okay. You're okay now. Just breathe. Nice and slow." Ava sobbed, confused and terrified. Noah kept talking, his voice steady and warm. "I know it's scary, I know. But the scary part's over. You're safe. Your mom's right here." Evelyn crawled forward, taking Ava's small hand. Baby, I'm here." Ava turned her head, tears streaming. "Mommy, I've got you. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Noah checked Ava's pulse. The gao basem. Pull again, then looked at Evelyn directly. "Paramedics are 2 minutes out. Her rhythm's stabilizing, but she needs a hospital. They'll probably run an EKG, maybe adjust her medication dosage. She's going to be okay." Evelyn stared at him. This man, this stranger she'd thrown into the rain 60 seconds before her daughter collapsed. This nobody who'd just saved Ava's life. "How did you..." Her voice broke. "How did you know what to do?" Noah's expression was unreadable. "I was a combat medic. Army. 3 tours." Then he stood, located his daughter, sitting quietly with a security guard near the wall, and walked over to pick her up. The little girl wrapped her arms around his neck. Is the other girl okay, Daddy? Yeah, Lil, she's okay. You helped her. I did. That's good. Noah kissed the top of her head, then turned toward the exit. Morrison stepped forward. Sir, wait! But Noah didn't wait. He carried his daughter through the crowd of frozen, useless elites, through the golden ballroom, through the grand entrance, and back into the freezing rain. And Evelyn Carter, untouchable, unshakable, ice-cold Evelyn Carter, sat on the marble floor in her $5,000 gown, holding her daughter and crying so hard she couldn't breathe, because the man she'd judged had just saved the only thing in the world she actually loved. The hospital was brutally bright. Mount Sinai's pediatric emergency department operated under fluorescent lights that made everything look sickly and overexposed. Evelyn sat in a plastic chair beside Ava's bed, still wearing her gown, mascara streaked down her face, one heel missing somewhere between the ambulance and admissions. She didn't care. Ava slept fitfully, hooked to monitors that beeped with artificial reassurance. The cardiologist had come and gone. EKG looked stable. Medication dosage would be adjusted. Keep her overnight for observation. She'd be fine. Fine. The word felt hollow. Evelyn reached out and brushed hair from Ava's forehead, her hand trembling slightly. She'd been sitting here for 2 hours and couldn't stop replaying the moment. Ava's body on the floor, lips turning blue, the horrible helplessness. And then Noah Bennett, appearing like something out of a fever dream. A nurse entered quietly, checking Ava's IV. She's doing great. Heart rate's been steady for the last 90 minutes. Thank you. The nurse hesitated. The man who helped her at the hotel, is he family? Evelyn looked up. No. Why? He's in the waiting room, has been since you arrived. He's got a little girl with him, thinks she finally fell asleep about 20 minutes ago. Something tightened in Evelyn's chest. He's still here? Yeah. Wouldn't leave until he knew your daughter was stable. The nurse smiled slightly. We don't see that much anymore. People helping strangers. She left. Evelyn sat frozen. Noah Bennett was still here, waiting, after she'd humiliated him, after she'd judged him, after she'd thrown him out like garbage. He'd come back, saved Ava, and stayed. Evelyn stood slowly, kissed Ava's forehead, then walked barefoot through the sterile hospital corridors toward the waiting room. She found him in the corner, still wearing the same worn jacket, jeans damp from the rain. His daughter, Lily, he'd called her, slept curled against his side, wrapped in his jacket. Noah sat with one arm around her, the other hand holding a paper cup of coffee he clearly hadn't touched. He looked exhausted. When he saw Evelyn approaching, he didn't stand, just met her eyes with that same unreadable expression. Evelyn stopped a few feet away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Evelyn's voice came out smaller than she'd ever heard it. She's stable. Noah nodded once. Good. They're keeping her overnight, adjusting her medication. Makes sense. Silence. Evelyn's hands twisted together. You stayed. Wanted to make sure she was okay. You didn't have to do that. Noah looked at her for a long moment. Yeah, I did. Something broke in Evelyn's chest. She sat down heavily in the chair across from him, suddenly too tired to stand. I'm sorry, her voice cracked. I'm so sorry. What I did tonight, how I treated you. You don't need to apologize. Yes, I do. Evelyn looked at him directly. I judged you. I looked at your clothes, your shoes, and I decided you didn't belong. I didn't listen. I didn't ask. I just threw you out. Noah shifted slightly, careful not to wake Lily. You were protecting your event, your people. I get it. No. Evelyn shook her head. You don't get it. Because 2 minutes after I threw you into the rain, my daughter almost died. And you, the man I'd just humiliated, you came back. You saved her. And I don't... Her voice broke completely. I don't understand why. Noah's expression softened slightly. You want the complicated answer or the simple one? Either. Simple answer? I'm a medic. Someone needed help. That's what I do. And the complicated one? Noah looked down at his sleeping daughter. The complicated answer is that every time I see a kid in trouble, I see Lily. And I remember what it feels like to be terrified and helpless and praying someone, Anyone knows what to do. He met Evelyn's eyes again. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, not even someone who threw me into the rain. Evelyn's vision blurred with fresh tears. Thank you for saving her, for staying, for being better than I deserved. Noah didn't respond to that, just sipped his cold coffee and looked at nothing in particular. Evelyn wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, suddenly aware of how completely destroyed she must look. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you come to the gala? Rebecca Linden, you said she invited you? Noah nodded slowly. Rebecca runs the Foundation's medical outreach program. Lily has chronic lung issues, recurring infections, complications. Every hospital visit costs money I don't have. He glanced at his daughter. Rebecca thought the Foundation might be able to help, said I should come to the gala, talk to donors, make connections. Evelyn felt sick, and instead I threw you out before you could speak to anyone. Like I said, you were protecting your event. Stop letting me off the hook. Noah actually smiled slightly at that. You want me to yell at you? I want you to be honest. The smile faded. Honest? Okay. Yeah, it sucked. Getting judged like that in front of everyone, getting thrown out like I was trying to rob the place, explaining to my 6-year-old daughter why we had to leave. He paused. But I've had worse days. And your daughter almost died tonight, so I'm thinking you've had worse days too. We can call it even. Evelyn stared at him. You're serious? Pretty much. You're insane. Also possible. Despite everything, Evelyn felt something close to a laugh trying to escape. She stopped it. Barely. Noah shifted Lily slightly, adjusting his jacket around her shoulders. The girl murmured something in her sleep, but didn't wake. Evelyn watched them. This father and daughter who'd walked into her world for 5 minutes and completely upended it. Where do you live? She asked quietly. Bronx, Tremont. Evelyn knew the neighborhood, working class, rough around the edges, not terrible, but not easy. What do you do? For work? Construction mostly, whatever pays. I was a medic in the Army, but the certification process for civilian paramedic work is expensive. Haven't been able to afford it yet. Because of Lily's medical bills. Noah didn't confirm or deny, just looked at his sleeping daughter. Evelyn made a decision. I want to help you. Noah's head came up. No, I haven't even told you what... I don't need charity, Ms. Carter. It's not charity. It's guilt. Noah's voice remained quiet but firm. You feel bad about tonight, so you want to throw money at me to make yourself feel better. I appreciate the thought, but no thanks. Evelyn felt her spine straighten, the CEO voice returning automatically. You don't know what I was going to offer. Doesn't matter. You have a sick daughter and medical debt. That's my problem. It doesn't have to be Ms. Carter. Noah looked at her directly. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I've been taking care of Lily on my own for 5 years. We manage. We're fine. Are you? The question hung in the air. Noah's jaw tightened. We're surviving. Surviving isn't the same as fine. It's what we've got. Evelyn recognized the wall when she hit it, the same wall she'd built around herself years ago, the one that kept pity out and pride intact. She stood slowly. Okay, I understand. Noah watched her carefully. But, Evelyn continued, if you change your mind, or if Lily needs anything, medical care, specialists, whatever, call me. She pulled a business card from somewhere in her gown and set it on the table between them. Please. Noah glanced at the card but didn't touch it. Evelyn turned to leave, then stopped. Mr. Bennett? Yeah? You're a good father. Something flickered in Noah's expression. Surprise, maybe, or pain. I try. It shows. She walked away before he could respond. Eat. Evelyn returned to Ava's room and sat in the plastic chair that would be her bed for the night. She watched her daughter sleep, monitors beeping their steady rhythm. Her phone buzzed. 17 missed calls, 43 texts. The gala had been a disaster. Photographers had caught the ambulance. Social media was exploding. She silenced everything. Right now, the only thing that mattered was Ava breathing steadily in a hospital bed. And somewhere in the waiting room, a man she'd wronged was doing the same thing, watching his daughter breathe, holding on to whatever strength he had left. Evelyn closed her eyes. Tomorrow she would deal with the fallout. The press, the board, the endless questions. Tonight, She would just be a mother who'd almost lost everything and been saved by a stranger she didn't deserve. The rain continued outside, but inside Mount Sinai's pediatric ward, 2 little girls slept safely. And 2 broken adults sat in separate rooms, holding on to the only things that still made sense in a world that had stopped making sense a long time ago. Their daughters. Everything else was just noise. Evelyn didn't sleep that night. She sat in the uncomfortable plastic chair beside Ava's hospital bed, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall with mechanical regularity. The monitors beeped their steady rhythm. Heartbeat normal, oxygen levels good, everything stable. The numbers should have been reassuring. They weren't. Every time Evelyn closed her eyes, she saw Ava's body convulsing on the marble floor, saw her lips turning blue, saw herself frozen and useless while her daughter died 3 feet away. Around 4 in the morning, Ava stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, confused and groggy. "Mommy?" Evelyn was at her side immediately, taking her small hand. "Hey, baby, I'm right here. Where are we?" "Hospital. You had an episode at the gala. Remember?" Ava's face scrunched up, trying to recall. "I remember feeling weird. Then everything got scary." "I know." Evelyn brushed hair from Ava's forehead. "But you're okay now. The doctors fixed everything." "There was a man." Ava's voice was small, uncertain. "He had a nice voice. He told me not to be scared." Evelyn's throat tightened. "That's right. His name is Noah. He helped you." "Is he a doctor?" "No, he's just someone who knew what to do." Ava considered this with the strange logic of 8-year-olds. Like a superhero? Despite everything, Evelyn almost smiled. "Yeah, kind of like that." "Can I say thank you?" "Maybe someday." Ava yawned, already drifting back to sleep. "Okay. Love you, Mommy." "Love you too, baby." Within seconds, Ava was out again, breathing deeply. Evelyn sat back in her chair and stared at nothing. A superhero. The man she'd thrown into the rain was her daughter's superhero, and Evelyn had treated him like garbage. When morning finally came, gray and cold through the hospital windows, Evelyn made a phone call. "Morrison, I need you to find someone." 3 days later, a manila folder landed on Evelyn's desk. She was back in her office, 40th floor corner view overlooking Manhattan, glass and steel and carefully controlled power. Everything had returned to normal. The board had been managed, the press had been spun. The gala disaster had been reframed as a medical emergency handled heroically by staff and an unnamed Good Samaritan. Normal. Except nothing felt normal anymore. Evelyn opened the folder. Noah Michael Bennett. Age 32. Born in Portland, Oregon. Joined the Army at 19. Became a combat medic. Served 3 tours, Iraq and Afghanistan. Received 2 commendations for valor. Saved 14 lives under fire. Married at 24 to Sarah Bennett, a nurse. 1 daughter, Lily, born when Noah was 26. Then Sarah died suddenly. Pulmonary embolism. No warning, just gone. Noah left the military immediately. Honorable discharge. Moved to New York to be closer to Sarah's family. Started working construction to support Lily while navigating single fatherhood. Lily's medical history was extensive. Chronic respiratory issues since age 2, multiple hospitalizations, expensive treatments, insurance coverage inadequate. Total medical debt, $83,000. Current employment, day laborer, construction sites throughout the Bronx and Queens. Income inconsistent. Barely above poverty line. No criminal record. No complaints. No red flags. Just a man trying to survive. Evelyn read the file 3 times. Then she called her assistant. "Get me Rebecca Linden from the foundation." Rebecca arrived within the hour, mid-50s, warm smile, the kind of person who actually meant it when they asked how you were doing. "Evelyn, how's Ava?" "Better. Thank you." Evelyn gestured to the chair across from her desk. "I need to ask you about someone. Noah Bennett." Rebecca's face lit up immediately. "Oh, Noah, yes. I've been working with him for about 6 months now. Lovely man. His daughter Lily is just precious." "You invited him to the gala." "I did. I thought it might help him make connections, find resources for Lily's care." Rebecca's expression faltered. "Though I heard there was some confusion at the door. I should have coordinated better with security." I feel terrible about that. It wasn't your fault. Evelyn kept her voice neutral. Tell me about him, honestly. Rebecca settled into her chair. Noah is one of the most stubborn people I've ever met, in the best way. He came to the foundation 6 months ago because Lily needed a specialist consult he couldn't afford, but he didn't want a handout. He wanted to work for it. Asked if there was anything he could do. Maintenance, repairs, whatever. Did you let him? Of course. He fixed our entire HVAC system for free, rewired the basement, built storage shelves, refused payment. Rebecca shook her head, smiling. I finally convinced him to at least let us cover Lily's specialist appointment. Took me 3 weeks of arguing. Evelyn studied the woman across from her. Why does he refuse help? Pride, partly, but also... Rebecca paused, choosing words carefully. I think Noah spent so many years being the one who saves people in the military, as a medic, that he doesn't know how to be the one who needs saving. It's not in his wiring. Even when his daughter needs it, especially then, he sees accepting help as failing her somehow. Like if he can't provide everything himself, he's not being a good father. Rebecca's voice softened. Which is nonsense, of course. He's an excellent father. Lily adores him, but try telling Noah that. Evelyn looked down at the folder again. $83,000 in medical debt, day labor wages, a 6-year-old daughter with chronic health issues, and the man refused charity. What if I offered him a job? Rebecca raised an eyebrow. What kind of job? I have a project, the Meridian Housing Development. It's a mixed-use complex designed for low-income families with a medical center specifically for children with chronic conditions. Evelyn tapped the folder. Noah has military experience, medical training, and construction skills. He could oversee safety operations, make sure everything's built to proper standards. That's a real position? It will be. Rebecca studied her carefully. This isn't about guilt over what happened at the gala, is it? No. Evelyn met her eyes. This is about putting the right person in a position where he can actually make a difference, and maybe getting him to accept help in the process. He'll refuse. Probably. He's very stubborn. So am I. Rebecca smiled. Well, in that case, this should be interesting. Evelyn found Noah's address in the file. The next morning, she drove to the Bronx herself. Tremont was exactly what she expected. Working-class neighborhood, narrow streets, buildings that had seen better decades. Not dangerous, just worn down. Tired. Noah's building was a walk-up, brown brick, iron fire escape zigzagging down the front like a scar. Evelyn parked her Mercedes and immediately felt a dozen eyes watching from windows and stoops. She didn't belong here any more than Noah had belonged at the Lexington. The irony wasn't lost on her. She climbed 3 flights of stairs that smelled like cooking oil and old carpet, then knocked on apartment 3C. Footsteps. The door opened. Noah stood there in jeans and a plain gray t-shirt, barefoot, clearly not expecting company. His expression went from surprise to guarded in about half a second. Miss Carter? Mr. Bennett, I'm sorry to show up unannounced. Can I come in? He hesitated, then stepped aside. The apartment was small, brutally small. 1 bedroom visible through an open door, bunk beds, stuffed animals, children's drawings taped to the wall. The main room served as living room and kitchen combined, maybe 300 square feet total. But it was clean, organized. A small table by the window held homework papers and colored pencils arranged in neat rows. Lily sat on a worn couch watching cartoons, wrapped in a blanket. When she saw Evelyn, her eyes went wide. Daddy, there's a fancy lady here. Despite everything, Evelyn smiled. Hi, Lily, I'm Evelyn. Are you a princess? No, just a regular person. Lily looked skeptical. You're dressed like a princess. Evelyn glanced down at her business suit. Armani, probably worth more than 3 months of Noah's rent. Fair point. Noah moved to the couch, checking Lily's forehead with the back of his hand. How you feeling, Lil? Good. Can I have juice? In a minute. Let me talk to Miss Carter first, okay? Okay. Lily returned to her cartoons, already losing interest in the fancy lady. Noah gestured toward the small kitchen area. Evelyn followed. They stood awkwardly in the space between the refrigerator and the counter, close enough that she could smell his laundry detergent, something cheap and pine-scented. How's Ava? Noah asked quietly. Good. Better. The medication adjustment helped. Evelyn paused. She asked about you, wanted to say thank you. She doesn't need to. She calls you her superhero. Something flickered in Noah's expression. Embarrassment, maybe. Kids have active imaginations. She's not wrong. Noah didn't respond to that, just waited for Evelyn to explain why she was standing in his kitchen. Evelyn pulled an envelope from her bag. I have a proposition. I told you, it's not charity, it's a job offer. That stopped him. What? I'm developing a housing project in Queens, the Meridian Development. It's designed for low-income families with children who have medical needs. There's a full pediatric center being built into the complex. She handed him the envelope. I need someone to oversee safety operations, someone who understands both construction and medical requirements, someone who won't cut corners. Noah opened the envelope slowly, scanning the papers inside. His eyes widened slightly at the salary figure. This is market rate for the position. This is 3 times what I make now. Like I said, market rate. Noah looked up from the papers. Why me? Because you're qualified. Military experience, medical training, construction background. You're exactly what the project needs. There are 1,000 guys with those qualifications. Maybe, but I've met you. I've seen what you do when it matters. Evelyn kept her voice steady. I want someone who actually cares. Someone who won't look the other way if something's wrong. Someone who'll protect the people living there. Noah set the papers on the counter. This is guilt. No, this is business. You feel bad about the gala. Of course I feel bad about the gala. Evelyn's voice sharpened. I was wrong. I was cruel. I judged you based on appearance, and I'm sorry. But this offer has nothing to do with that. This is about the Meridian Project needing someone competent and you needing stable income with benefits that include health insurance. That last part landed. Noah's jaw tightened. Health insurance that would cover Lily, Evelyn continued quietly. Fully, including specialists. Noah looked toward the living room where his daughter sat wrapped in a blanket, still recovering from her latest infection. I can't accept this. Why not? Because it feels like what? Like someone's offering you a legitimate job that you're qualified for? Like maybe you don't have to carry everything alone anymore? Noah's hands gripped the counter edge. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. I've been taking care of Lily by myself for 5 years. Every hospital bill, every infection, every late night, every terrifying moment, I handled it. Me, nobody else. His voice was tight, controlled, but something raw leaked through. If I start accepting help now, it feels like admitting I couldn't do it, like I failed. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Noah's head snapped up. Evelyn held his gaze. You're not failing. You're surviving, and barely. And your daughter is sick, and you're drowning in debt, and you're too stubborn to grab the lifeline because of some misguided idea about strength. She leaned forward slightly. You know what actual strength is? Accepting help when you need it. Putting your daughter's needs above your pride. Doing whatever it takes to give her a better life. I am doing whatever it takes. Basmat, are you? Because from where I'm standing, you're working yourself to death for poverty wages while your daughter needs medical care you can't afford. That's not strength. That's martyrdom. The words hung between them like an accusation. Noah stared at her, something dangerous flickering in his expression. You don't know anything about my life. You're right. I don't. Evelyn's voice softened. But I know what it's like to lose a spouse. I know what it's like to raise a sick child alone. I know what it's like to work yourself numb just to avoid feeling anything else. Noah's expression shifted. Surprise. Recognition. I spent 4 years after my husband died building a company because it was easier than being a mother. Evelyn continued. I told myself I was providing for Ava, securing her future. Really, I was just hiding. From grief. From fear. From the terrifying reality that I might lose her too. Her voice cracked slightly. And I almost did. 3 nights ago, I almost lost the only thing that matters because I was too busy protecting my pride to see what actually needed protecting. She picked up the job offer and held it out to him. So don't make my mistake, Noah. Don't let pride cost you everything. Take the job. Get Lily the care she needs. And maybe, Just maybe, let someone help you for once. Noah looked at the envelope in her hand, then at Lily, still watching cartoons, oblivious to the conversation happening 10 feet away. Then back at Evelyn. This is a real position, not something you created just for me? The position is real. I was planning to hire someone next month. You're just moving up the timeline. And if I screw it up? Then I'll fire you. This isn't charity. I expect you to actually do the work. What about Lily? Daycare? School schedule? We'll figure it out. The project site has an on-site care program for employees' children. She'll be looked after. Noah's resistance was crumbling. Evelyn could see it in the way his shoulders sagged slightly, the way his hands unclenched from the counter. Why are you doing this? He asked quietly. I told you. No. Really? Why? Evelyn considered lying, giving him the professional answer, the clean version. Instead, she told the truth. Because 3 nights ago, a stranger saved my daughter's life, and I want to believe that people can be better than their worst moments, including me. Noah took the envelope. He didn't open it again, just held it, staring at nothing. Then quietly, when do I start? Monday, if that works? It works. Good. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Then Lily's voice piped up from the couch. Daddy, can I have juice now? Noah's expression softened immediately. Yeah, Lil, coming. He moved to the refrigerator, poured juice into a plastic cup with cartoon characters on it, and brought it to his daughter. Lily took it with both hands, drinking carefully. Thank you, Daddy. You're welcome, baby. Evelyn watched them, this father and daughter who'd somehow crashed into her carefully controlled life and knocked everything sideways. Noah walked her to the door. Ms. Carter? Yes? Thank you. The words were simple, honest. Evelyn nodded. See you Monday. She left the apartment, descended the 3 flights of stairs, and got into her Mercedes. She sat there for a long moment, hands on the steering wheel, staring at nothing. Then she called her assistant. Jennifer, I need you to do something for me, quietly. Of course. Noah Bennett has medical debt, $83,000. Find out which collection agencies hold it and arrange payment. Anonymous? Completely. He can't know it came from me. Understood. Evelyn ended the call and started the car. Pride was expensive. She was learning that. But some debts were worth paying. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Noah showed up at the Meridian Project site at 6:30 a.m., 30 minutes early, wearing work boots and carrying a hard hat that looked like it had survived 2 wars. Evelyn met him at the construction trailer that served as the temporary office. She'd arrived at 6, unable to sleep, telling herself it was because she wanted to personally onboard him. Really, she just wanted to make sure he showed up. Mr. Bennett. Miss Carter. He glanced around the active construction site, heavy equipment, workers in high-vis vests, the skeleton of what would eventually be a 12-story residential building. This is a serious operation. $70 million investment, 400 residential units, full medical center. Yes, it's serious. Noah whistled low. And you want me overseeing safety? That's the job. I've done construction work, but nothing on this scale. Then you'll learn. Come on, I'll show you around. She led him through the site, explaining the project scope. The residential towers would house families at below-market rent, prioritizing those with children who had chronic medical needs. The medical center would provide specialized pediatric care, subsidized through foundation funding. It's ambitious, Noah said, studying the architectural plans posted inside the trailer. It's necessary. Do you know how many families go bankrupt from medical debt every year? Yeah, I do. Right. Of course he did. Evelyn cleared her throat. Your job is to make sure this place doesn't kill anyone during construction, and that when it opens, it's actually safe for the families living here. Inspect everything, question everything. If something looks wrong, shut it down. Even if it delays the schedule? Especially if it delays the schedule. I'd rather open late than open dangerous. Noah looked at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. You really mean that? Yes, most developers don't. I'm not most developers. Something shifted in Noah's expression. Respect, maybe. Or the beginning of it. All right then. He picked up the hard hat. Where do I start? Evelyn handed him a thick binder. Site inspection reports from the last 3 months. Read them. Then do your own inspection. I want your assessment by the end of the week. Yes, ma'am. And Noah? He looked up. Don't call me ma'am. It makes me feel old. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. Yes, Miss Carter. Better. Over the next 2 weeks, Noah disappeared into the project like a man possessed. He arrived before dawn and left after dark. He inspected every floor, every support beam, every electrical system, every safety protocol. He questioned contractors, challenged inspectors, and refused to sign off on anything that didn't meet his standards. The construction crew hated him within 3 days. Evelyn loved it. Your new safety guy is a pain in the ass, the project manager complained during a Tuesday meeting. He shut down the South Tower installation because the emergency lighting didn't meet code. Did it meet code? Evelyn asked calmly. Technically, no, but then he was right to shut it down. Fix it. The project manager muttered something under his breath and left. Evelyn's assistant, Jennifer, appeared in the doorway. You have a visitor, Lily Bennett. She's with the on-site childcare supervisor. Evelyn looked up, surprised. Send her in. A moment later, Lily appeared, holding the hand of Sarah Kim, who ran the employee childcare program. Lily wore a pink backpack almost as big as she was and carried a drawing. Hi, Ms. Carter, Lily said shyly. Hi, Lily. Everything okay? Yes. I just wanted to give you something. She held out the drawing, a crayon picture of 2 stick figures, one big and one small, holding hands under a yellow sun. This is you and your daughter. My daddy said her name is Ava. Evelyn took the drawing, something unexpected tightening in her chest. This is beautiful, thank you. You're welcome. My daddy says you gave him a job so he can help people. That's nice of you. Your daddy is helping me too. Lily considered this with the seriousness only 6-year-olds can manage. That's good. When people help each other, everything's better. Simple truth from a child's mouth. Sarah Kim gently squeezed Lily's shoulder. Okay, sweetheart, let's get back to arts and crafts. Okay, bye, Ms. Carter. Bye, Lily. They left. Evelyn stared at the crayon drawing for a long time. Then she taped it to the wall beside her desk, next to Ava's school photo. That Friday, Noah requested a meeting. Evelyn found him in the construction trailer, surrounded by inspection reports and photographs. He looked tired, but focused. What's wrong? Noah spread photos across the desk. We have a problem. Evelyn studied the images, close-ups of support structures, electrical installations, material specs. These are from the South Residential Tower, Noah explained. The materials don't match the approved specifications. Someone substituted cheaper alternatives. How much cheaper? Enough to save about $200,000. Also enough to potentially fail safety inspections once the city does their final review. Evelyn felt ice forming in her stomach. You're sure? Positive. I cross-referenced the material delivery invoices with the installation photos. The numbers don't match. He pulled out another document. And it gets worse. The emergency systems for the medical center are using substandard components. If there's a fire or power failure, they might not function properly. Jesus. Evelyn sat down heavily. Who approved this? According to the paperwork, Richard Holloway's construction subsidiary. They're the primary contractor. Richard Holloway, billionaire investor, board member, one of the project's major financial backers, and apparently a fraud. Evelyn's mind raced. If this went public, the scandal would destroy the project. Investors would pull out. The media would crucify them. Years of work would collapse. But if they covered it up and something went wrong, if the building failed, if children got hurt. What do you recommend? She asked quietly. Noah met her eyes. Shut it down. Rip out everything that doesn't meet spec. Rebuild it properly. Then report Holloway to the authorities. That will cost millions and months of delays. Yeah. The board will fight me. Investors will sue. We might lose everything. Probably. Evelyn stared at the photographs spread across the desk. Substandard materials, compromised safety systems, children's lives at risk. Kids are going to live in this building, Noah said quietly. The same words he'd thought but not said 2 weeks ago. Now he said them out loud. Evelyn looked at him, this stubborn, principled man who could have ignored the problems, collected his paycheck, and looked the other way. But he didn't. because that wasn't who he was. She stood. Call an emergency board meeting. Monday morning. We're exposing this. You sure? No, but we're doing it anyway. Noah nodded once, respect clear in his expression. One more thing, Evelyn added. This is going to get ugly. Holloway has powerful friends, lawyers, connections. Are you prepared for that? Miss Carter, I've been shot at in 3 different countries. I think I can handle some lawyers. Despite the situation's gravity, Evelyn almost smiled. All right then. Let's go to war. The board meeting was exactly as ugly as predicted. Richard Holloway arrived with 2 attorneys, a PR consultant, and an expression of wounded outrage that would have won awards. This is absurd, he declared, standing at the head of the conference table like he owned it. You're accusing me of fraud based on the paranoid ravings of some construction worker. Combat medic, Noah corrected quietly from his seat. And I'm not paranoid, I'm thorough. Holloway ignored him. Evelyn, I've invested $12 million in this project. I've been your partner from the beginning. And now you're trying to destroy my reputation over some paperwork discrepancies? Evelyn remained seated, hands folded calmly on the table. They're not discrepancies, Richard. They're criminal violations. You substituted substandard materials, falsified inspection reports, and endangered future residents. That's fraud. That's a misunderstanding. These are the material delivery invoices. Noah slid documents across the table. These are the approved specifications. These are photographs of what was actually installed. Feel free to explain the misunderstanding. One of Holloway's lawyers cleared his throat. We'll need time to review. No. Evelyn's voice cut through the room like a blade. Here's what's going to happen. We're shutting down construction immediately. We're bringing in independent inspectors. We're ripping out everything that doesn't meet code and rebuilding it properly. And we're reporting this to the appropriate authorities. You can't do that. Actually, as majority stakeholder and project director, I absolutely can. Holloway's face turned red. This will destroy the project. You'll lose everything. Maybe, but at least I'll be able to sleep at night. You're making a huge mistake. The mistake was trusting you. Holloway slammed his hand on the table. I'll sue. I'll bury you in legal fees. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. Evelyn stood slowly, meeting his eyes with ice-cold precision. Try it. Because when this goes public, and it will go public, everyone's going to know that you stole money from a project designed to help sick children. Good luck recovering from that. The room fell silent. Holloway stared at her, realizing he'd lost. We're done here, Evelyn said. Security will escort you out. 2 guards appeared at the door. Holloway gathered his lawyers and left, threats still spilling from his mouth like poison. When the door closed, the remaining board members erupted. This is suicide. The investors will panic. We need to contain this. Evelyn raised one hand. Silence fell. I understand your concerns, but we're doing this anyway, because it's right, and because if we don't, and something goes wrong, we'll have blood on our hands. She looked around the table. Anyone who can't support that decision is welcome to resign. Nobody moved. Good. Meeting adjourned. Everyone filed out except Noah, who remained seated. You just made a very powerful enemy, he said quietly. I know. He meant those threats. I know that too. And you're okay with it? Evelyn looked at him. I have an 8-year-old daughter with a heart condition. Every day I live with the terror that I might lose her. Compared to that, Richard Holloway is just noise. Noah studied her for a long moment. Then he stood. You're tougher than I thought. So are you. They stood in the empty conference room, 2 people who'd started as strangers and were slowly becoming something else. Not friends exactly. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. Thank you, Evelyn said quietly, for finding this, for having the courage to speak up. Just doing my job. You could have looked the other way. Nobody would have blamed you. I would have blamed me. Simple honesty. Evelyn nodded. Get some rest this weekend. Starting Monday, things are going to get complicated. Noah almost smiled. More complicated than getting shot at? Different kind of complicated. Great. He left. Evelyn stood alone in the conference room, looking out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Richard Holloway was plotting revenge. The media would descend within days. The project would face months of delays and millions in losses, but children would be safe, and that was enough. She picked up her phone and called Ava's school. "Hi, this is Evelyn Carter. I'm picking up my daughter early today. We're going to the park." For the first time in 4 years, work could wait. The story broke on Tuesday. New York Tribune ran it front page with a headline that made Evelyn's coffee taste like ash. Carter Development halts construction amid fraud allegations against billionaire investor. By Wednesday, every major outlet had picked it up. Cable news ran segments with financial analysts dissecting the scandal. Social media exploded with hot takes from people who didn't know the first thing about construction but had plenty of opinions anyway. Evelyn's phone didn't stop ringing. She ignored most of the calls, answered the ones that mattered. Her lawyer, calm, strategic, already building their defense. The project's remaining investors, panicked, demanding explanations. Rebecca Linden from the foundation, supportive but worried. And her mother, who called 3 times before Evelyn finally picked up. "Are you insane?" Margaret Carter's voice sliced through the phone like broken glass. "You just declared war on Richard Holloway. Do you have any idea what he's capable of?" Evelyn sat in her office, watching the news coverage play silently on the monitor across the room. "He committed fraud, Mom. What was I supposed to do?" "Manage it quietly. Handle it internally. Not blow up your entire project in the media. Children are going to live in that building. Children aren't living anywhere if the project goes bankrupt." Her mother's frustration crackled through the line. "You've worked too hard to throw it all away over some idealistic crusade." "It's not idealistic, it's basic human decency." "Decency doesn't pay the bills, Evelyn. You have a daughter to think about." "I am thinking about her. I'm thinking about what kind of person I want to be when she looks at me." Silence on the other end. Then, quieter. "You sound just like your father." Evelyn's throat tightened. Her father had died when she was 16, a defense attorney who'd taken on cases nobody else would touch, because he believed everyone deserved representation. He'd died broke and exhausted, still fighting. "Thank you," Evelyn said softly. Her mother sighed. "That wasn't a compliment, but I know you won't listen anyway. You never do. I learned from the best. Stubborn runs in the family." A pause. "Be careful, sweetheart. Holloway doesn't lose gracefully. Neither do I." Her mother hung up. Evelyn set down the phone and returned her attention to the news coverage. A legal analyst was explaining how the scandal could trigger regulatory investigations, investor lawsuits, criminal charges. Her assistant knocked. "Noah Bennett is here." "Send him in." Noah entered looking like he hadn't slept much. He carried a folder thick with documents and dropped into the chair across from her desk without waiting for invitation. "You look like hell," Evelyn observed. "Thanks. You too." Fair enough. Evelyn had been running on coffee and spite for 48 hours. Noah opened the folder. "Independent inspectors finished their preliminary review. It's worse than we thought." "How much worse?" "Electrical systems in both towers need complete replacement. HVAC in the medical center is compromised. Fire suppression systems are using faulty components that wouldn't pass basic safety standards." He slid photographs across the desk. "Holloway didn't just cut corners. He gutted the entire safety infrastructure." Evelyn studied the images, anger building slowly in her chest. "What's the damage estimate?" 4.3 million, maybe more once we get into the walls." "Jesus." "Yeah." Evelyn leaned back in her chair, doing the math in her head. The project budget could absorb it, barely, but it would wipe out their contingency fund and push completion back at least 6 months. "The investors are going to lose their minds," she said quietly. "Already happening. I fielded 3 calls this morning from people demanding to know why some construction worker is making executive decisions." "What did you tell them?" "That I'm a combat medic, not a construction worker, and that their money doesn't mean shit if the building kills someone." Despite everything, Evelyn felt something close to a smile trying to form. "I bet that went over well." "One guy threatened to have me fired. I told him to get in line." "You're enjoying this." "Little bit." Noah's expression turned serious. "But we have a bigger problem. Holloway's lawyers filed an injunction trying to block the construction halt. They're arguing we breached contract by shutting down without proper cause." "We have cause. We have evidence." They're claiming the evidence is circumstantial and that we're damaging their reputation without due process. Evelyn felt the headache building behind her eyes. When's the hearing? Friday. Judge Morrison, we need to be ready. We will be. Noah hesitated. There's something else. Of course there is. Someone's been asking questions about me, digging into my background. Evelyn's attention sharpened. What kind of questions? Military service, medical history, financial records, Lily's custody situation after Sarah died. His jaw tightened. They're looking for ammunition. Holloway. That'd be my guess. Evelyn stood, fury replacing exhaustion. He's going after you because you found the fraud. Probably trying to discredit me before the hearing. If they can make me look unstable or incompetent, they can question my findings. There's nothing to find. Your record is clean. My record shows a guy who left the military suddenly, moved across the country, and has been barely scraping by for 5 years. They'll spin it as erratic behavior. Unstable. Someone who can't be trusted. Evelyn's mind raced. We need to get ahead of this. How? We put you in front of the media. Control the narrative. Show them exactly who you are and why you found the fraud. Noah looked at her like she'd suggested he juggle chainsaws. I don't do media. You do now. Ms. Carter, they're going to paint you as either incompetent or malicious. We don't let them set that frame. We show them a combat veteran with 3 commendations who spent his career saving lives and is now trying to protect children. Evelyn's voice was firm. You're the hero in this story, Noah. Let's make sure everyone knows it. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who read some reports. You're a guy who could have ignored those reports and collected an easy paycheck, but you didn't, because you actually give a damn. She leaned forward. That matters. Let people see it. Noah stared at her for a long moment. Then he rubbed his face with both hands, defeated. This is going to be a disaster. Probably, but we're doing it anyway. The press conference happened Thursday afternoon. They held it at the construction site, deliberate choice. Behind Noah stood the half-finished residential towers and the skeletal frame of the medical center, visual reminder of what was at stake. 20 reporters showed up, cameras, microphones, the whole circus. Evelyn stood at the podium first, crisp and professional in a navy suit that projected competence and control. Thank you all for coming. I'm here to address the ongoing situation with the Meridian Development Project. 2 weeks ago, our safety director discovered serious violations in the construction process. Substandard materials, falsified inspections, safety systems that would have failed when families needed them most. She paused, letting that sink in. We immediately halted construction and reported these findings to the appropriate authorities. This decision was not made lightly. It will cost millions and delay our timeline significantly. But it was the right decision, because this project is designed to house families with children who have medical needs. Their safety is not negotiable. Questions erupted immediately. Ms. Carter, are you accusing Richard Holloway of intentional fraud? I'm saying the evidence speaks for itself. Mr. Holloway's construction subsidiary was responsible for the work in question. The violations are documented and verified by independent inspectors. Holloway's lawyers claim you're engaged in a vendetta. Mr. Holloway is welcome to present evidence to the contrary. We've provided all our findings to investigators. We have nothing to hide. What about the financial impact? Sources say this could bankrupt the project. The project remains financially viable. We're committed to seeing it through to completion, properly this time. More questions, more answers. Evelyn handled them with practiced precision, never losing composure. Then she stepped aside. I'd like to introduce Noah Bennett, our safety director and the person who discovered these violations. Noah moved to the podium looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He wore work clothes, jeans, boots, a company jacket, because Evelyn had vetoed his plan to buy a suit he couldn't afford. Be yourself, she'd told him that morning. They don't need corporate polish. They need honesty. Now he stood in front of 20 cameras and cleared his throat. I'm not good at speeches, so I'll keep this simple. His voice was steady but uncomfortable. 3 weeks ago, I started working for Meridian Development. My job is to make sure this place gets built safely. That's it. No politics, no agendas, just making sure the work meets standards. He pulled out a folder. While reviewing installation reports, I found discrepancies. Materials that didn't match specifications. Systems that wouldn't pass inspection. At first I thought maybe it was paperwork errors, but the more I looked, the clearer it got. Someone was cutting corners. Dangerous corners. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Bennett, some critics are suggesting you lack the expertise to make these assessments. I spent 6 years as an Army combat medic, 3 tours. I know what happens when safety protocols fail. I've held people while they died because equipment didn't work or buildings weren't secure. His voice hardened slightly. So yeah, I know how to spot a safety violation, and I know what's at stake if we ignore them. Another reporter. But you're not a licensed engineer, see? No, I'm not. That's why I brought in independent inspectors, actual engineers, licensed professionals. They verified everything I found and then some. Noah tapped the folder. This isn't about my expertise. It's about documented evidence. Anyone who wants to review it is welcome to. We're not hiding anything. What about allegations that you're mentally unstable? That you left the military under suspicious circumstances? Noah's expression went cold. Evelyn tensed, ready to intervene. But Noah just looked at the reporter directly. I left the military because my wife died suddenly, and I had a 2-year-old daughter who needed her father. I moved to New York to be near my late wife's family. I've been raising my daughter alone for 5 years while working construction because that's what paid the bills. He paused. If that makes me unstable, then I guess half the single parents in this city are unstable too. The reporter had the grace to look embarrassed. Another voice, why should we believe you over Richard Holloway? He's a respected businessman. I don't care if you believe me. Noah's voice was flat. Believe the evidence. Believe the independent inspectors. Believe basic building codes. He looked around at all the cameras. I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I'm here because kids are going to live in this building. Kids with medical conditions who need safe housing and reliable systems. That's what matters. Not my reputation, not Holloway's reputation. Just making sure this place doesn't hurt anyone. Silence fell across the assembled reporters. Then someone asked, what happens next? Noah glanced at Evelyn. She stepped back to the podium. We rebuild. Properly. We work with investigators to ensure full accountability, and we complete this project the right way, even if it takes longer than planned. Her voice was firm. The Meridian development will open, and when it does, families can trust that it's safe. The press conference ended. Reporters scattered to file their stories. Noah and Evelyn stood together near the construction trailer watching the circus pack up. That was awful, Noah said quietly. You did great. I looked like an idiot. You looked honest. That's better. Noah shook his head but didn't argue further. Evelyn's phone buzzed. Text from her lawyer. Just watched the press conference. Well played. You've got them on defense now. Maybe. Or maybe they just painted bigger targets on their backs. Friday's hearing was exactly as brutal as expected. The courtroom was packed. Lawyers, journalists, interested parties who smelled blood in the water. Judge Morrison presided with the patience of someone who'd seen too many corporate fights and had stopped being impressed decades ago. Holloway's legal team came prepared. 3 attorneys in expensive suits, armed with briefcases full of contracts and procedural arguments. Their lead counsel, a shark named Patterson, stood first. Your Honor, this injunction is necessary to prevent irreparable harm to my client's business interests. Ms. Carter has made serious allegations without proper evidentiary foundation, causing significant damage to Mr. Holloway's reputation and financial standing. Judge Morrison looked unimpressed. Ms. Carter, you want to respond? Evelyn's lawyer, David Chen, stood. Mid-40s, sharp as a knife, with a reputation for destroying people politely. Your Honor, we have extensive evidence of building code violations, material substitutions, and falsified inspection reports, all documented and verified by independent engineers. This isn't a baseless allegation. It's a safety crisis. Patterson fired back. The so-called evidence comes from an unqualified construction worker with no engineering credentials making subjective assessments. Combat medic, Noah said from his seat behind the defense table. Patterson ignored him. And Ms. Carter's decision to halt construction without proper review violates multiple contractual obligations. Proper review? Chen's voice sharpened. Your client installed substandard electrical systems in a building designed for medically fragile children. Should Ms. Carter have waited until someone got electrocuted to take action? The judge raised one hand. Enough. I want to see this evidence. For the next 2 hours, they walked through documentation, inspection reports, material invoices, photographs, expert testimony from the independent engineers. Patterson kept fighting, throwing up procedural objections and technical challenges, but the evidence was damning. Finally, Judge Morrison leaned back in his chair. Here's what I'm seeing. Ms. Carter has documentation showing serious safety violations. Mr. Holloway's company was responsible for the work in question. Whether this constitutes intentional fraud is for investigators to determine. But Ms. Carter was well within her rights and arguably obligated to halt construction pending review. Patterson stood. Your Honor, I'm denying the injunction. Construction remains halted until the safety issues are resolved. The judge's gavel came down. And Mr. Patterson, tell your client that filing frivolous injunctions to intimidate whistleblowers doesn't play well in my courtroom. We're done here. The courtroom erupted in whispered conversations. Evelyn felt something loosen in her chest. Not victory, this was far from over, but at least not immediate defeat. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Ms. Carter, how do you feel about the ruling? Vindicated, but this was never about winning a legal fight. It's about doing what's right. Will you pursue criminal charges against Holloway? That's for prosecutors to decide. We've provided all our evidence to the appropriate authorities. Mr. Bennett, do you have any comment? Noah, standing slightly behind Evelyn, just shook his head. No comment. They pushed through the crowd to Evelyn's car. Inside, with the doors closed and the chaos muffled, Noah let out a long breath. That was worse than getting shot at. You said that about the press conference. I stand by it. Evelyn started the car. Thank you for everything. I know this hasn't been easy. Nothing worth doing is easy. She glanced at him. Who told you that? My drill sergeant, right before he made us run 15 miles in full gear. Sounds awful. It was, but he wasn't wrong. They drove in silence for a while, Manhattan traffic crawling around them. Finally, Noah spoke. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why are you really doing this? The truth? Evelyn kept her eyes on the road. I told you. You told me the professional answer, the one that sounds good. I'm asking for the real one. Evelyn was quiet for a long moment. Then, because I'm tired of being the person who only cares about money. I spent 4 years building a company and forgot how to be a human being. I became exactly what I hated, someone who sees people as numbers on a spreadsheet instead of actual lives. Her voice dropped. And then my daughter almost died, and a stranger I'd treated like garbage saved her, and I realized I'd become someone I didn't want to be anymore. Noah absorbed this. So this is penance. This is trying to do better. That's not the same thing. Close enough? They pulled up to the construction site. Workers were already implementing the new safety protocols, tearing out compromised systems under Noah's supervision. You want to come inside? Evelyn asked. Check on progress? Noah shook his head. I need to pick up Lily. It's Friday. We usually get pizza and watch movies. Something about that image, Noah and his daughter having pizza movie night, made Evelyn smile despite the exhaustion. That sounds nice. It is. Noah paused before getting out. You should bring Ava sometime, if you want. Lily keeps asking about her. Evelyn's heart did something unexpected. Yeah? Yeah. She thinks Ava is cool because she survived a heart attack and because her mom is important. Noah said the last word with air quotes and a slight smile. I'm not that important. Try telling that to a 6-year-old. Evelyn found herself laughing. Actually, laughing for the first time in days. Okay, I'll ask Ava if she wants to. She could probably use a friend. So could Lily. He got out of the car, then leaned back through the window. Ms. Carter? Yeah? You're doing better, just so you know. Before she could respond, he walked away. Evelyn sat in her car watching him go, something warm and unfamiliar settling in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or just the beginning of it. That Sunday, Evelyn found herself standing outside Noah's apartment building with Ava, holding a bottle of wine she'd probably overpaid for and feeling more nervous than she had before any board meeting. Mom, why are we just standing here? Ava asked, practical as always. I'm making sure we have the right building. You checked 3 times already. Just being thorough. Ava rolled her eyes, 8 years old and already perfecting the teenage attitude, and pressed the buzzer. Noah's voice crackled through the intercom. Yeah? It's Evelyn and Ava. We're here for... The door buzzed open before she could finish. They climbed the 3 flights. The door to 3C stood open, Noah waiting in the doorway. You came. You invited us. I know, I just figured you'd bail. Evelyn felt oddly offended. I don't bail. Good to know. Noah stepped aside. Come in. The apartment looked the same, small, clean, organized. But now there were pizza boxes on the counter and a blanket fort constructed in the living room that looked structurally questionable. Lily emerged from the fort, beaming. Ava, you came. Hi, Lily. I built a fort. Want to see inside? Okay. The girls disappeared into the blanket structure, their voices immediately rising in excited conversation. Noah and Evelyn stood awkwardly in the kitchen. I brought wine, Evelyn offered, holding up the bottle. You know this is a pizza and animated movie kind of night, right? I didn't know the dress code. There isn't one. That's the point. Evelyn looked down at her casual outfit, jeans and a sweater she'd agonized over for 20 minutes, and felt ridiculous. I'm overdressed, aren't I? Little bit, but you look nice. The compliment caught her off guard. Thank you. Noah grabbed paper plates from the cabinet. Pizza's still warm if you want some. They ate standing in the kitchen like college students, which felt absurd and somehow exactly right. From the living room came the sound of the girls arguing about fort architecture. No, the pillow goes on top of the blanket, but then it falls down. That's why you use the chair to hold it. Noah smiled. They're going to destroy the place. Probably. Worth it, though. Yeah. They moved to the living room, settling on the worn couch while the girls played. The fort collapsed twice. Lily cried once. Ava helped rebuild it with the seriousness of an engineer. Eventually, they got it stable and declared victory. Can we watch the movie now? Lily asked. Sure. What are we watching? The Dragon Princess. Ava's face lit up. I love that one. Noah looked at Evelyn with an expression that said, prepare yourself. The movie was exactly what you'd expect. Bright colors, talking animals, a princess who learns the power of friendship. Evelyn had seen it approximately 400 times because it was Ava's favorite. Halfway through, both girls fell asleep in the fort, curled up together like they'd known each other forever. Noah paused the movie. The apartment fell quiet except for the sound of 2 children breathing peacefully. They're adorable, Evelyn whispered. They really are. They sat in silence for a moment, both watching the sleeping girls. This is weird, right? Noah said quietly. What? This. Us. Sitting here like normal people after everything. Evelyn considered. Yeah, kind of weird. Good weird or bad weird? I'm not sure yet. Noah smiled slightly. Fair enough. Evelyn looked around the small apartment, the worn furniture, the crayon drawings on the fridge, the blanket fort that would probably stay up for days. It was nothing like her penthouse with its marble counters and designer everything. It felt more like home than her place had in years. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Do you ever get scared that something will happen to Lily? That you won't be able to protect her? Noah's expression grew serious. Every single day. How do you handle it? Badly, mostly. He leaned back against the couch. I check on her at night probably 10 times. I overreact to every cough. I keep emergency contact numbers memorized, and I still wake up terrified that I'm going to lose her the way I lost Sarah. Evelyn felt her throat tighten. I do the same thing with Ava. Yeah? After Marcus died, I became obsessed with control. Like if I could just manage everything perfectly, plan for every contingency, then nothing bad would happen. She looked at her sleeping daughter. But you can't control everything, and trying just makes you crazy. So what do you do instead? I'm still figuring that out. Noah nodded slowly. Well, if you figure it out, let me know. Deal. They sat together in comfortable silence, 2 broken people who'd found themselves in the same strange place. Eventually, Evelyn checked her watch. Nearly midnight. I should get Ava home. Yeah, probably. Neither of them moved. Finally, Noah stood, offering his hand to help her up. She took it, feeling the rough calluses from years of manual labor. He didn't let go immediately. "Thank you for coming," he said quietly. "Thank you for inviting us. We should do this again sometime. I'd like that." They stood there, hands still connected, something unspoken passing between them. Then Evelyn pulled away gently and went to wake Ava. The girl stirred, confused and sleepy. "Mom? Time to go home, baby. But I want to stay with Lily. We'll come back, I promise." That seemed to satisfy her. Evelyn gathered their things while Noah gently extracted Lily from the fort and carried her to the bedroom. At the door, Evelyn paused. "Noah?" He turned. "You're a good person. I hope you know that." He looked surprised. "I'm just doing what anyone would do." "No, you're not. Most people wouldn't have found that fraud. Most people wouldn't have risked everything to expose it. Most people would have looked the other way and taken the easy money." "Most people aren't me." "Exactly." She left before he could respond, carrying sleepy Ava down 3 flights of stairs and out into the cool night air. In the car, Ava mumbled, "I like Lily." "Me too. Can we go back? Soon." "Promise?" "Promise." Ava fell back asleep immediately. Evelyn drove through empty streets, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Not happiness, exactly, but maybe the possibility of it, like standing at the edge of something new and terrifying and worth the risk anyway. She didn't know what came next, but for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid to find out. The weeks that followed developed a rhythm nobody planned but somehow fell into anyway. Ava and Lily became inseparable. Every weekend, one family would end up at the other's place. Sometimes the cramped Bronx apartment with its blanket forts and pizza nights. Sometimes Evelyn's penthouse with its floor-to-ceiling windows and kitchen bigger than Noah's entire living space. The girls didn't care about the difference. They were too busy building elaborate games involving dragons, superhero doctors, and a surprising amount of medical accuracy courtesy of their fathers' backgrounds. Noah found himself at the construction site 7 days a week, overseeing the massive rebuild. Every compromised system got ripped out and replaced. Every inspection got triple-checked. He was thorough to the point of obsession, and the construction crew had stopped complaining because even they could see the difference between cutting corners and building something that mattered. Evelyn spent her days managing the fallout. Holloway's legal team kept filing motions, each one more desperate than the last. Investors needed constant reassurance. The media cycled through interest and boredom and back again. But the project moved forward, slower than planned but solid. And somewhere in the chaos of rebuilding a construction project and fighting legal battles, 2 people who'd started as strangers were becoming something else. It happened in small moments. Noah, bringing Evelyn coffee at 6 a.m. when he knew she'd been at the site since 4, reviewing electrical plans. Evelyn making sure Lily got enrolled in the employee health program that covered her specialist appointments without Noah having to ask. The way they'd started texting about random things. Construction updates? Yes, but also Ava's report card, Lily's new obsession with volcanoes, a joke one of the workers told that was so stupid it was actually funny. The way Noah's hand would settle on the small of Evelyn's back when they walked through the site together, steadying her over uneven ground. The way Evelyn found herself looking for him in every room she entered, relaxing slightly when she spotted him. Neither of them acknowledged what was happening. They were both too scared. One Tuesday in late March, Evelyn's phone rang at 2 in the morning. She answered groggily, not checking the caller ID. "Hello? Miss Carter? It's Noah. I'm sorry to call so late, but..." She was awake immediately. "What's wrong?" "Lily's in the ER. Respiratory infection. It got bad fast." His voice was controlled, but she could hear the fear underneath. "I know it's late. I just thought... I don't know why I called. Sorry. I'll let you go." "Which hospital?" "Bronx, Lebanon." "But you don't need to..." "I'll be there in 20 minutes." She hung up before he could argue. Evelyn threw on jeans and a sweater, checked on Ava sleeping peacefully in her room, then called her mother. "Do you have any idea what time it is?" Margaret's voice was sharp with worry. "I need you to come stay with Ava. Emergency." "What happened?" "Nothing with Ava. A friend needs help." A pause. Then, "I'll be there in 15 minutes." Her mother arrived in 12, hair in curlers, wearing a coat over her nightgown. "Who's the friend?" Margaret asked as Evelyn grabbed her keys. "Noah Bennett." Her mother's expression shifted to something knowing. "The man from the construction site." "Yes." "The one you've been spending all your time with." "His daughter's sick. I need to go." Margaret studied her for a long moment. "You care about him?" It wasn't a question. Evelyn didn't answer it anyway. "Ava's asleep. I'll be back before she wakes up." She left before her mother could say anything else. The ER waiting room at Bronx, Lebanon was exactly what you'd expect at 2 a.m. Fluorescent lighting, uncomfortable chairs, a mix of genuine emergencies and people who probably just needed sleep. Evelyn found Noah sitting in the corner, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. She sat down beside him without saying anything. Noah looked up, surprised. "You came?" "Of course I came. It's 2 in the morning." "I noticed." He rubbed his face with both hands. "She couldn't breathe. I woke up and heard her wheezing. By the time I got to her room, she was barely getting air." "What did the doctors say?" "Severe respiratory infection. They've got her on oxygen and antibiotics. They want to monitor her overnight, maybe longer." His voice cracked slightly. "She was so scared, Evelyn, and I couldn't fix it." Evelyn took his hand, just held it. "You got her here. That's what mattered." "What if it's not enough?" "It will be." "You don't know that." "No, but I know Lily's strong, and I know she's got a father who'll fight like hell for her." Noah's hand tightened around hers. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, just existing in the awful space where all you can do is wait and hope. Around 3 a.m., a doctor emerged. Young woman, tired but kind eyes. "Mr. Bennett?" Noah stood immediately. "How is she?" "Stable. The oxygen is helping. Her numbers are improving." The doctor smiled slightly. "She's asking for you." Relief crashed over Noah's face so completely that Evelyn felt her own chest loosen. "Can I see her?" "Of course. Room 412, but keep it brief. She needs rest." Noah turned to Evelyn. "Will you—" "I'll wait here." He disappeared down the hallway. Evelyn sat alone in the waiting room, processing what had just happened. She'd driven across the city at 2 in the morning because Noah called. Didn't hesitate, didn't question, just went. Because somewhere in the last 2 months, Noah Bennett had stopped being the stranger who saved her daughter and started being someone she couldn't imagine not having in her life. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it just felt true. Noah returned 15 minutes later looking wrung out but less panicked. "She's okay. Tired and cranky, but okay." He sat down heavily. "She wanted to know if you were here. I told her you were." "What did she say?" "She said to tell you thank you for coming and that you're nice." Noah's mouth quirked slightly. High praise from a 6-year-old with an oxygen tube. "I'll take it." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Noah said quietly, "You didn't have to come." "I know." "But you did anyway." "Yeah." "Why?" Evelyn looked at him, really looked. This man who'd crashed into her life and somehow made everything simultaneously more complicated and more clear. "Because you would have done the same thing for me." "That's not the same." "Yes, it is." She kept her voice gentle. "You came back into that ballroom when you had every reason to walk away. You saved Ava even after I treated you like garbage. You've been helping me rebuild this project when you could have taken an easier job somewhere else. So yeah, when you called at 2 a.m. because your daughter was sick, I came, because that's what people do when they care about each other." The last words hung in the air between them. Noah stared at her. "Evelyn, you should go home, get some sleep. I'll stay here in case the hospital needs anything." "You don't have to." "I want to." Noah opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, then closed it. "Thank you." "You're welcome." He left reluctantly, promising to be back first thing in the morning. Evelyn stayed in the uncomfortable waiting room chair watching the night slowly give way to gray dawn through the windows. Her phone buzzed, text from her mother. "Ava's still asleep. The girl is okay?" "Stable. I'm staying until morning." "You care about him, the father." Evelyn stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "Yeah, I do." "Good. You deserve something good. Even if it scares you." Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes unexpectedly. Her mother had hated Marcus at first, thought he was too relaxed, too unfocused, not ambitious enough for her daughter. Then she'd watched him love Evelyn completely and revised her opinion. After he died, she'd watched Evelyn turn to ice and hadn't known how to reach her. Now she was giving her permission to try again. Evelyn typed, "It scares me a lot." Everything worth having does. Lily got discharged 2 days later with strict instructions about rest, medication, and follow-up appointments. Noah brought her home to the apartment and immediately went into full protective mode, checking her breathing every hour, monitoring her temperature, hovering anxiously until Lily finally told him to stop being weird. "I'm fine, Daddy." "I know. I just want to make sure." "You're doing the worried face again." Noah tried to adjust his expression, failed completely. Lily giggled, which turned into a small cough, which made Noah tense all over again. "Daddy, stop." "Right, sorry." That evening, Evelyn showed up with Ava, carrying containers of soup her mother had made. "Margaret Carter's famous chicken soup," Evelyn explained. "Apparently it cures everything from colds to broken hearts." Her words, not mine. Noah accepted the containers gratefully. "Tell her thank you. Tell her yourself she's probably going to start showing up uninvited soon. Fair warning." They settled in the living room, Lily and Ava on the couch watching a movie, Noah and Evelyn in the kitchen pretending to organize soup while actually just standing close together. "How's she really doing?" Evelyn asked quietly. "Better. The antibiotics are working. Her breathing's almost normal." Noah leaned against the counter. "But it scared the hell out of me." "I know. I keep thinking about what would have happened if I hadn't woken up. If I'd slept through it and she'd just—" He stopped, unable to finish the sentence. Evelyn touched his arm. "But you did wake up, and she's fine. This time." "You can't live in the what-ifs, Noah. Trust me, I've tried. It just makes you crazy." He looked at her with something raw in his expression. "How do you do it? How do you not spend every second terrified something will happen to Ava?" "I do spend every second terrified. I just got better at hiding it." She paused. "And then I met someone who reminded me that I don't have to hide everything all the time." Noah held her gaze. "Yeah?" "Yeah." The moment stretched between them, heavy with things neither was saying. From the living room, Ava called out, "No. Mom, can we have popcorn?" "May we have popcorn?" Evelyn corrected automatically. "May we?" "Sure." The moment broke. Noah moved to get the popcorn while Evelyn grabbed bowls. But something had shifted. Some invisible line had been crossed, and both of them knew it. The Meridian project hit a major milestone in early April. All compromised systems replaced, independent inspections passed, construction cleared to resume full schedule. The medical center's foundation was complete. The residential towers were taking actual shape instead of just being steel skeletons. It was starting to look like something real. Noah stood on the roof of the South Tower one afternoon, surveying the progress. 6 months ago, this had been a disaster waiting to happen. Now it was becoming what it was always supposed to be, a safe place for families who needed it. He felt oddly proud. Footsteps behind him. He turned to find Evelyn climbing the last ladder, slightly out of breath. "You really need to stop having important conversations in places that require climbing," she said. "I didn't know we were having an important conversation." "We're not. I just wanted to see the view." She came to stand beside him. Manhattan spread out below them, concrete and steel and millions of lives happening all at once. "It's really coming together," she said quietly. "Yeah, it is." "You did this. You know that, right?" Noah shook his head. "I just pointed out problems. You're the one who actually fixed them." "We fixed them, together." He couldn't argue with that. They stood in silence, watching the city. Then Evelyn said, "I need to tell you something." Noah's stomach tightened. "Okay." "I paid off your medical debt, back in January, right after I hired you." He went very still. "What?" $83,000 to various collection agencies. I had my assistant arrange it anonymously, but I'm guessing you figured it out. Noah's jaw tightened. "I got notices about 2 months ago. Debt satisfied, no explanation. I thought it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake." "You had no right." "I know." "That was my responsibility. I know that too." "So why?" His voice was harder than he meant it to be. Why do something you knew I'd hate? Evelyn turned to face him directly. Because you were drowning, and you're too stubborn to ask for help, and I had the means to fix it. So I did. That's not your decision to make. You're right, it wasn't, but I made it anyway. She held his gaze. And I'm not sorry. Noah stared at her, anger and something else warring in his expression. You think you can just throw money at problems and fix everything? No. I think I can help someone I care about when they're struggling, whether they ask for it or not. That's not help. That's control. The word hit her like a slap. She stepped back slightly. Maybe. But maybe it's also just caring enough to do something instead of watching someone suffer out of respect for their pride. It's not about pride. Yes, it is. It's completely about pride. Her voice rose. You've been carrying this weight alone for 5 years because you think asking for help makes you weak. You think accepting anything from anyone means you failed. But that's bullshit, Noah. That's just fear wrapped in martyrdom. You don't understand, so then explain it to me. Because if I can't take care of Lily myself, then what's the point? The words burst out of him raw and angry. She's my daughter, my responsibility. If I can't provide for her, if I have to rely on other people to do what I should be doing, then what kind of father am I? A human one. Evelyn's eyes were bright with frustrated tears. You're a human being, Noah. You're allowed to need help. You're allowed to accept it when it's offered. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. It makes me dependent. It makes you connected to other people, to a community, to someone who wants to be there for you. The last part landed differently. Noah looked at her, really looked, and saw what she wasn't quite saying. Evelyn, I care about you. Her voice dropped, quieter now. I care about you and Lily, and watching you struggle with debt you couldn't pay while working yourself to death made me feel helpless. So I did something about it, and yeah, maybe I should have asked first. Maybe I should have respected your boundaries. But I don't regret it. Because you deserve better than drowning in medical bills from trying to keep your daughter alive. Noah's anger was deflating, replaced by something more complicated. I don't know how to accept this, he said quietly. You don't have to know how. You just have to let it be done. It's a lot of money. I have a lot of money. What's the point of having it if I can't use it to help people I care about? They stood facing each other on the roof, the city noise distant below them. I'm not good at this, Noah admitted, at letting people in, at needing anyone. I'm not either. We can be bad at it together. Despite everything, he almost smiled. That's a terrible plan. Probably, but it's what we've got. Noah reached out and took her hand, just held it, feeling the warmth of her palm against his. Thank you, he said finally, for caring, even if it pisses me off. You're welcome, even though you're impossible. We're quite a pair. Yeah, we are. The moment hung between them, charged with possibility. Then Noah's phone buzzed. He checked it reluctantly. Site inspectors here for the medical center walkthrough. Right, we should go. Neither of them moved. Finally, Evelyn squeezed his hand once and let go. Come on, let's go impress the inspector with all your obsessive safety protocols. They're not obsessive, they're thorough. Whatever helps you sleep at night. They climbed down from the roof together, something unspoken but understood settling between them. The following Saturday, both families ended up at Evelyn's penthouse for dinner. Margaret had insisted on cooking, her way of checking out Noah without actually admitting she was checking him out. So, you're the famous Noah? Margaret said, shaking his hand with a grip that made it clear she was evaluating him. I don't know about famous, ma'am. Don't ma'am me. I'm Margaret, and you saved my granddaughter's life, which means you've passed the first test. There are more tests? Several, but I'll space them out so you don't panic. Ava and Lily were already in Ava's room, probably destroying it with whatever elaborate game they'd invented this week. Dinner was surprisingly easy. Margaret asked Noah about his military service without being invasive. Noah asked her about raising Evelyn without being patronizing. Evelyn watched them both warily, waiting for the disaster that never came. He's good with her, Margaret said later when Noah had gone to check on the girls and they were alone in the kitchen. Who? Lily. Both of them, Lily and Ava. He's patient, present, pays attention. She dried a wine glass carefully. That's rare. I know. You're falling for him. It wasn't a question. Evelyn didn't deny it. I don't know what I'm doing, Mom. Nobody does. That's the whole point. Marcus died 4 years ago. I swore I'd never... Her voice caught. I can't lose someone again. Margaret set down the glass and turned to face her daughter. Sweetheart, you don't get guarantees. You don't get promises that nothing bad will ever happen. All you get is right now. And right now you have a man who clearly cares about you, and a daughter who lights up when he's around, and a chance to let yourself be happy again. She paused. Don't throw that away because you're scared. Fear is easy. Living is hard. Before Evelyn could respond, Noah returned with both girls in tow. They want to show you something, he said, looking amused and slightly concerned. Ava and Lily stood holding a large poster board covered in drawings and glitter. We made a family tree, Lily announced proudly. Evelyn's heart stopped. The poster showed 2 separate trees that merged in the middle. One side had Evelyn, Ava, and Margaret. The other had Noah and Lily. And in the center, connecting them, the girls had drawn themselves holding hands with the words, Best Friends Forever, in shaky letters. See? Ava pointed. We're all connected now. Margaret made a small sound that might have been a sob or a laugh. Noah looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Evelyn couldn't speak at all. Do you like it? Lily asked anxiously. Evelyn knelt down to the girl's level. I love it. It's perfect. Can we hang it up? Absolutely. They spent the next 10 minutes finding the perfect spot, the hallway between the living room and kitchen where everyone would see it. After the girls ran off to play again, Margaret excused herself to freshen up, leaving Noah and Evelyn alone staring at the family tree. That was unexpected, Noah said quietly. Yeah, they really love each other. They do. Evelyn, he turned to face her. We need to talk about what this is. Her heart raced. What is? This, us. Whatever we're doing. We're not doing anything. Yes, we are. His voice was gentle but firm. We've been dancing around it for months, but those girls just drew us as one family. And if we're going to keep doing this, dinners and sleepovers and being in each other's lives, we need to be honest about what it means. Evelyn's chest tightened. I don't know if I can do this, Noah. Do what? Fall in love again. Risk losing someone again. I barely survived it the first time. I know. I'm terrified too. Then why are we even talking about this? Noah stepped closer. Because I wake up thinking about you. Because Lily asks about Ava every single day. Because when something good happens, you're the first person I want to tell. Because I'm already in too deep to walk away. And I think you are too. Evelyn felt tears sliding down her face. This is a terrible idea. Probably the worst. We could screw everything up. Almost definitely will. So why does it feel right? Noah reached up and wiped a tear from her cheek. Because sometimes the scariest thing is exactly what you need. They stood inches apart, the family tree hanging on the wall behind them like a promise neither had made but both were starting to believe in. I'm not ready, Evelyn whispered. Neither am I, but I don't want to lose you either. So we figure it out. Together. Slowly. Scared out of our minds, but trying anyway. Evelyn looked into his eyes and saw her own fear reflected back, but also something else. Something that looked like hope. Okay, she breathed. Yeah? Yeah. Noah smiled, actually smiled, full and real, and for the first time in 4 years, Evelyn felt something other than fear when she thought about the future. She felt possibility. Spring arrived in New York like it had something to prove. The city shook off winter's gray weight, and suddenly Central Park exploded with color, cherry blossoms and tulips, and that particular shade of green that only exists in April. Construction crews worked in shirt sleeves instead of heavy jackets. The Meridian project moved faster with the better weather, every floor rising like a promise being kept. Noah and Evelyn didn't rush into anything. They were too scared for that, too aware of what they both stood to lose. Instead, they did something harder. They learned each other slowly, in pieces, through moments that mattered. Saturday mornings became their time. While the girls had art class together at the community center, Noah and Evelyn would walk through the construction site, checking progress and talking about everything except what they were becoming. He told her about Sarah, how they'd met in a hospital where he was recovering from shrapnel wounds, and she was the night nurse who made him laugh when everything hurt. How she'd died so suddenly, there wasn't time to say goodbye. How he still sometimes reached for her side of the bed and felt the emptiness all over again. Evelyn told him about Marcus, the way he'd balanced her intensity with his calm, how he'd made her laugh at herself when she got too serious, how his death had felt like someone had removed all the color from the world and she'd been living in grayscale ever since. "Does it ever stop hurting?" Noah asked one morning, standing on the 5th floor of the medical center, looking out at the city. "No, but it changes, gets quieter, less sharp." Evelyn stood beside him. "Took me 3 years before I could look at photos without falling apart. I'm at 5 and still can't listen to her favorite songs. Everyone has their thing." They stood in comfortable silence, two people who understood grief in a way you only can when you've lived through it. "I feel guilty sometimes," Noah admitted, "when I'm happy, like I'm betraying her memory. I know that feeling. How do you deal with it?" Evelyn considered. "I remind myself that Marcus would have hated seeing me miserable. He'd have wanted me to keep living, probably would have yelled at me for wallowing." Noah smiled slightly. "Sarah would have done the same. She had no patience for self-pity." "Smart woman." "The smartest." Another silence, less heavy this time. "So we're doing this," Noah said, "trying to be happy again, with all the guilt and fear and baggage." "Looks like it." "Still terrified?" "Absolutely. You?" "Completely." Evelyn took his hand, just held it while they looked out at the city together. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture. It was better. It was real. The medical debt situation came up again in May. Noah had been wrestling with it privately for months, too proud to bring it up, but too honest to pretend it hadn't happened. Finally, one evening at Evelyn's place, while the girls played in Ava's room, he cornered her. "We need to talk about the money." Evelyn set down her wine glass. "Okay. I can't pay you back. Not all at once, anyway, but I want to set up payments." "No." "Evelyn, it was a gift, Noah. I don't want it back." His jaw tightened. "That's not how this works." "Why not?" "Because your pride won't let you accept help?" "Because accepting that much money without paying it back makes me feel like—" He stopped, struggling with the words. "Like what?" "Like a charity case. Like I'm using you." Evelyn stood and moved to stand directly in front of him. "Look at me. Do you care about me?" "You know I do." "Do you care about the money? Is that why you're here?" "Of course not." "Then stop making this about pride and make it about reality. The reality is, I had money I didn't need. You had debt that was crushing you. I fixed a problem because I could. That's it. That's the whole story." "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is. You're the one making it complicated." Her voice softened. "Noah, I'm not keeping score. I'm not holding this over you. I just wanted you to be able to breathe, to not wake up every morning drowning in bills you couldn't pay while trying to keep Lily alive. Let me have that. Let me have done something good." Noah stared at her, the fight draining out of him. "You make it sound so reasonable." "That's because it is reasonable. You're just stubborn." "Pot, kettle." "Fair point." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "Thank you for everything, for being patient with my stupid pride." "Your pride isn't stupid. It's just inconvenient." "I'll work on that." "Don't work too hard. I kind of like you difficult." He kissed the top of her head, something he'd started doing without thinking about it. "You're impossible." "So I've been told." From Ava's room came a crash, followed by Lily's voice. "It's okay. Nothing broke." Evelyn pulled back with a sigh. "I should check on that." "Probably." But neither of them moved for another moment, just standing in the kitchen holding each other while chaos erupted 20 feet away. This, Evelyn thought, was what happiness felt like now. Not perfect, not uncomplicated, just real and messy and worth it. The Meridian project reached substantial completion in June. All residential units finished. Medical center operational. Safety systems tested and retested until even Noah couldn't find anything else to check. The building stood proud against the Queen's skyline, 12 stories of hope for families who needed it. The opening ceremony was scheduled for the first Saturday of July. A low-key event. No champagne fountains or ice sculptures. Just the people who'd built it, the families who'd live in it, and the knowledge that something good had been created from something that almost went horribly wrong. Evelyn stood in the main lobby the night before the opening, doing a final walkthrough. The space glowed with warm lighting, deliberate choice, making it feel welcoming instead of institutional. Children's artwork covered one wall. The reception desk was low enough that kids could see over it. Everything designed with intention and care. Noah found her standing in the medical center atrium, looking up at the skylight that flooded the space with natural light. "You did it," he said quietly. "We did it. Mostly you. I just complained about safety violations. You saved this project. If you hadn't found that fraud, this place would have been a disaster waiting to happen." Noah moved to stand beside her. "And if you hadn't had the guts to shut it down and rebuild it, we'd be reading about building failures in the news." He paused. "We make a good team." "Yeah, we do." They stood together in the empty atrium, the evening light painting everything gold. "I'm proud of this," Evelyn admitted. "For the first time in years, I built something I'm actually proud of. Not because it made money, because it matters. It does matter. This place is going to change lives. Because of you. Because you wouldn't let me take the easy way out." Noah took her hand. "Because of both of us. And because sometimes doing the right thing actually works." Evelyn leaned into him, letting herself feel the satisfaction of completion. "What happens now?" "Now we open this place, help families move in. Make sure everything runs smoothly." "I meant with us." Noah's arm tightened around her shoulders. "What do you want to happen?" Evelyn had been asking herself that question for months, and somewhere between the construction site walkthroughs and the Saturday morning conversations, and the dinners with their daughters laughing in the next room, she'd found her answer. "I want to stop being scared. I want to try, really try." Noah turned to face her fully. "You sure?" "No, but I'm sure I want to try anyway." He smiled, the real smile that made him look younger, less tired, more like the person he'd been before life got hard. "That's good enough for me." He kissed her, soft and careful and full of promise. When they pulled apart, Evelyn rested her forehead against his. "The girls are going to lose their minds. They drew that family tree 3 months ago. I think they've been waiting for us to catch up. Smart kids. The smartest." They stood in the golden light of the atrium, two broken people who'd somehow found their way back to whole. The opening ceremony was everything it should have been. Simple, genuine, meaningful. Families toured their new apartments. Kids explored the medical center with wide eyes. Rebecca Linden gave a short speech about community and hope that made half the audience cry. The mayor showed up for photos, clearly trying to distance himself from the Holloway scandal. Evelyn avoided most of the spotlight. This wasn't about her. This was about the 70 families who now had safe, affordable housing and access to medical care for their children. Noah stood with Lily in the crowd, watching the ribbon cutting. Lily wore her favorite dress, purple with sparkles, and held Ava's hand like they'd been sisters forever. "Daddy, our building is famous now," Lily said proudly. "It's not our building, Lil. We just helped build it." "But you made sure it was safe. Ms. Carter said so." "Ms. Carter talks too much." Evelyn appeared beside them, having escaped the reception line. "Ms. Carter can hear you." Lily giggled. "Are you going to marry my daddy?" Both adults froze. "Lily," Noah started, "because Ava said you should. And I think so too. Then we'd all live together and be a real family." Evelyn knelt down to Lily's level, acutely aware that half the crowd was now watching this conversation. "Your daddy and I are still figuring things out, sweetie. But you like him, right? Very much. And he likes you, a lot. He smiles when you text." Noah looked mortified. "Lily, we talked about this. You said not to ask in front of people. These are all friends, so it doesn't count." Ava chimed in helpfully. "My mom smiles when he texts too, and she never smiles at her phone." Evelyn shot her daughter a look. "Thank you for that contribution." "You're welcome." Margaret appeared, clearly enjoying the spectacle. "Out of the mouths of babes. Mom not helping. Wasn't trying to help. Was trying to enjoy watching you squirm." Noah took Evelyn's hand and pulled her to her feet. "Come on. Let's go see the rooftop garden before these two plan the whole wedding." "There's going to be a wedding?" Lily's shriek echoed through the lobby. "Figure of speech," Noah called back, already pulling Evelyn toward the elevator. They escaped to the roof, leaving the chaos behind. The rooftop garden was Noah's idea. A quiet space overlooking the city where families could sit and breathe and remember they were human beings, not just people with medical bills and housing struggles. Small trees and large planters, benches scattered around, a children's play area with soft surfaces and accessible equipment. It was peaceful up here. The city noise distant, the sky impossibly blue. We created a monster, Noah said. 2 monsters, working together. Evelyn laughed. They're not subtle. Not even a little bit. You okay with that? With them pushing this? Noah leaned against the railing, looking out at Queens stretching toward the horizon. I'm okay with it. Terrified. But okay. Me too. We're probably going to screw this up. Almost definitely. The girls will be devastated if we fail. Then we don't fail. Noah looked at her. That's simple. Nothing about this is simple, but we already survived the worst things life can throw at people. We know what loss looks like. We know how to grieve. We know how to keep going when everything falls apart. Evelyn moved to stand beside him. So yeah, maybe we screw this up. Maybe it doesn't work. But maybe, just maybe, we've already been through enough hard things that we know how to fight for the good ones. Noah was quiet for a long moment. Then, I love you. I need to say that out loud. I love you and it scares me, and I'm saying it anyway. Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes. I love you too, and it terrifies me. But I'm done letting fear make my decisions. He pulled her close, and she went willingly, wrapping her arms around him and holding on. Below them, the city moved and breathed. Inside the building, families were starting their new lives. And on this roof, 2 people who'd started as strangers were choosing each other despite every reason not to. So we're doing this, Noah said into her hair. We're doing this. All in, both of us. Scared out of our minds, but trying anyway. That's the deal. Okay then. Okay. They stood together as the afternoon sun painted everything gold, and for the first time in years, neither of them was looking backward. They were looking forward, together. 6 months later, on a freezing December morning, Noah moved into Evelyn's penthouse. It wasn't a grand romantic gesture. It was practical. His lease was up. Lily needed to be closer to her new school, and they were spending every night together anyway, so maintaining 2 apartments was just stubborn. But watching Noah carry boxes through the door while Lily and Ava argued about which room would be whose felt significant in a way that went beyond logistics. The girls want to share, Noah said, setting down a box marked kitchen. They've been planning it for weeks, apparently. Ava's room is bigger. They can take that one. You sure? They're going to end up in there every night anyway. Might as well make it official. The girls ran past carrying armfuls of stuffed animals, already making themselves at home. Margaret showed up an hour later with coffee and pastries and her opinion on furniture arrangement. The couch goes under the window, she declared. Better light. The couch is fine where it is, Evelyn countered. It's dark in that corner. It's not dark. It's atmospheric. Noah wisely stayed out of it, focusing on unpacking kitchen boxes. By evening, the apartment looked like a bomb had hit it. Boxes everywhere, furniture half arranged, children's toys already spreading like a colony. It was chaotic and messy, and absolutely nothing like Evelyn's previous life of perfect minimalist order. She loved it. They ordered pizza because nobody had energy to cook, ate sitting on the floor because the dining table was covered in unpacking debris. The girls fell asleep mid-movie, exhausted from the excitement. Noah and Evelyn carried them to bed, their bed now, the room they'd share, then returned to the disaster zone that was the living room. This is insane, Evelyn said, looking around at the chaos. Completely. I had everything perfectly organized before you. I know. My life made sense. Boring, but sense. She threw a pillow at him. He caught it easily, grinning. You want me to leave? He asked, not meaning it. Try it and I'll hunt you down. Scary and possessive. I like it. They collapsed onto the couch together, too tired to keep unpacking. Thank you, Noah said quietly, for letting us crash your perfect life. Thank you for making it worth crashing. They sat in comfortable silence, exhausted and happy. Hey, Evelyn. Yeah? We're going to be okay. All of us. I can feel it. She took his hand, threading their fingers together. Yeah, we are. And in that moment, sitting in the wreckage of moving day with their daughters asleep down the hall and their whole future stretched out uncertain and terrifying and full of possibility, Evelyn believed it. They would be okay. Not because life had suddenly become easy, or because pain had stopped existing, or because they'd magically healed from everything they'd lost, but because they'd learned something most people never figured out. That strength isn't carrying everything alone. It's knowing when to let someone else help carry the weight. That love isn't avoiding pain, it's choosing to risk it, because the alternative, living in fear, staying safe, keeping everyone at arm's length, isn't actually living at all. That family isn't just biology. It's who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when you're too tired to fight for yourself. The Meridian Project opened its doors to 70 families and became exactly what it was supposed to be. A place where people didn't have to choose between rent and medical care, where children could be children instead of patients, where community meant something more than just living in proximity. Noah continued overseeing safety operations, expanding the role to include other Carter development projects. He finally got his civilian paramedic certification with Evelyn's support, financial and otherwise, and started training staff at the medical center. Evelyn learned to leave work at work sometimes, to be present for dinner, to build blanket forts and play dragons, and remember that the most important projects weren't the ones that made money. Ava's heart condition stabilized with proper medication management. She still had episodes occasionally, but they were controlled, manageable. She learned to advocate for herself, to know her limits, to live fully within them. Lily's respiratory issues improved with consistent specialist care and the better air quality in Evelyn's building. She still got infections, but less frequently, less severely. She grew stronger, braver, more confident. The girls became sisters in everything but paperwork. They fought like siblings, protected each other like siblings, finished each other's sentences and invented their own language and drove their parents equally crazy. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. They fought sometimes, Noah and Evelyn, usually about him being too stubborn or her being too controlling. The girls had bad days. Money was still a source of tension occasionally, though less as time went on. Grief still ambushed them both at unexpected moments. Sarah's birthday, Marcus's death anniversary, random Tuesday afternoons when loss hit like a physical blow. But they worked through it, together, imperfectly, honestly. Because that's what people do when they actually love each other. They show up, they try. They fail sometimes and apologize and try again. 1 year after Noah moved in, on another freezing December morning, he woke up before everyone else and made coffee in the kitchen that still felt too fancy for someone who'd spent years in a Bronx walk-up. Evelyn appeared a few minutes later, wrapped in a robe, hair messy from sleep. "Coffee?" he offered. "Please." He poured her a cup. She took it gratefully, moving to stand by the window that overlooked Central Park. "I've been thinking," Noah said carefully. "Dangerous. About what the girls said at the opening ceremony." Evelyn went very still. "About?" "Getting married." She turned to look at him. "That was 6 months ago." "I know. I'm slow." "Noah." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Not fancy. Simple gold band with a small stone. Nothing extravagant because he knew she'd hate that. "I'm not doing the whole down on one knee thing because my knees are shot from the army, and I'm not giving you a speech because you hate speeches, so I'm just going to ask." He opened the box. "Marry me. Build this weird, messy, imperfect life with me. Let's make it official." Evelyn stared at the ring, at him, at the life they'd built together from broken pieces. The girls are going to be insufferable about this. Completely insufferable. They'll want a huge wedding. Probably. I'm terrible at planning parties. I know. And I still wake up scared sometimes that I'm going to lose you. Me too. She set down her coffee cup and took the ring from the box, studied it in the morning light. "It's perfect," she said quietly. "Yeah?" "Yeah." She slid it onto her finger, fit perfectly, like he'd known it would. "So is that a yes?" Noah asked. Evelyn kissed him, long and deep and full of everything they'd been through and everything they'd become. "Yes. Obviously, yes." From down the hallway came thundering footsteps. "Did she say yes?" Lily's voice carried from the bedroom. "They're getting married!" Ava shrieked. The girls burst into the kitchen in their pajamas, screaming and dancing. "How long were you awake?" Noah demanded. "The whole time," Lily laughed. "We were listening at the door." "That's called eavesdropping. We're going to be sisters for real now. The girls tackled them both in a group hug that nearly knocked everyone over. Margaret showed up an hour later. Apparently the girls had called her immediately, with champagne for the adults and sparkling cider for the children. I knew it, she said, hugging Evelyn tight. I knew you'd find your way back. And standing in her kitchen on a December morning, surrounded by noise and chaos, and the family she'd somehow assembled from the wreckage of loss, Evelyn finally understood what her mother meant. She had found her way back. Not to who she was before. That person was gone, buried with Marcus in a cemetery in Connecticut, but to who she could be now. Someone who'd survived the worst and chosen to keep living anyway. Someone who'd learned that strength and vulnerability weren't opposites. Someone who'd let people in even when it was terrifying. Someone who'd been saved by a stranger in the rain and had chosen to save him right back. That afternoon, they went to the Meridian building. The rooftop garden had a thin layer of snow, making everything look clean and new. Noah and Evelyn sat on a bench while the girls built a snowman that looked structurally questionable. You know what's weird? Noah said. What? A year ago I was drowning, barely keeping my head above water, working jobs I hated, terrified every hospital bill would be the one that broke us. And now I'm sitting here planning a wedding and working a job I actually care about and watching my daughter build a snowman with her future sister. Life's funny that way. You think we deserved this? After everything? Evelyn thought about that, about Marcus dying suddenly, about Sarah's pulmonary embolism, about all the pain and loss and years of barely surviving. I don't know if anyone deserves anything, she said finally. I think terrible things happen to good people, and good things happen to terrible people, and most of us are somewhere in the middle just trying our best. That's depressing. No, it's honest. She took his hand. What matters isn't whether we deserve this. What matters is that we showed up. We tried. We took the risk. And we built something good from something broken. Noah kissed her temple. When did you get so wise? When I met someone stubborn enough to match me. They watched the girls finish their snowman, which immediately fell over, sending both of them into fits of laughter. We're going to be okay, Evelyn said. Not a question this time. A statement. Yeah, we are. And sitting on that bench in the rooftop garden they'd built together, watching their daughters play in the snow, both of them finally believed it. Not because life had promised them a happy ending, but because they'd learned that happy isn't an ending. It's a choice you make every day. To show up. To try. To let people in. To risk the pain because the alternative is worse. To save someone when they need it and let them save you right back. To build something good from something broken. To choose love even when it's terrifying, especially when it's terrifying, because that's what makes it worth everything. The snow kept falling, soft and quiet, covering the city in white. And on a rooftop in Queens, 4 people who'd once been strangers became a family. Not perfectly, not easily, but completely. And that was enough, more than enough. It was everything.